Insomniac Games is one of the most respected game developers of the current generation, having a relatively consistent record of making great quality games. Starting off in 1994, almost 30 years ago as Extreme Software, and developing their first game called Disruptor just 2 years later in 1996, it was a solid beginning to something bigger than they could have ever imagined. Now while the game was quite literally a Doom clone, that wasn't that much of a bad thing, since these types of games were extremely popular at the time, and it even received fairly decent reviews. Plus, the creator of id Software himself, John Romero, praised the game. However, sales were low and the team decided not to develop a sequel but instead try something new. And this was one of their best decisions. Spyro the Dragon, their next game, was a success, rivaling the likes of Super Mario, spawning many sequels, and eventually becoming one of PlayStation's most well-known older generation mascots. In 2002, they released Ratchet & Clank, which is still a growing franchise in this day and age, with Rift Apart releasing not long ago to overwhelmingly positive reviews. And of course, they officially stapled themselves as PlayStation's greatest asset with 2018's Spider-Man, which became the best-selling PS4 game of all time, and now with 2 more games of the same caliber, single-handedly dominating Marvel's video game market, they have green lights shining at them from every direction. But throughout all these years, there has been one particular game with a specific style that hasn't really been matched since, just stuck in my head. And every time I look over the games in my library, for some reason it always sticks out to me even now. So how could a game with such a loud, attention-grabbing presence get so muffled and buried in a pile of Xbox's dry exclusives list? Yeah, I know, an Xbox exclusive from Insomniac Games kinda sounds like a myth at this point. Anyway, today I wanted to shine a light on this never-ending party, because who knows, maybe this small, insignificant video will lead to dominoes falling and a potential sequel forming. I don't fucking know. This is Sunset Overdrive. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Alright, I think it's going to be an insult to the game's genius if I start going all in-depth and dramatic as I usually do with these games, so let's just keep it simple. Imagine you are working a dead-end job as a cleaner while people just keep partying. There's this new energy drink, Overcharge, that everyone is just chugging in barrels. You just want to go home and chill. You don't even like the stuff. And then suddenly one of them feels sick. They come up to you and oh shit, what the f is that? And now you're being chased by hordes of these Fanta bottles, and the whole city has gone to shit. Now, regular zombie apocalypse, right? Wrong. Next thing you know, there's fucking robots after you. Now you're grinding on power lines, bouncing on cars, running on building walls, sliding on water like Jesus, shooting vinyls and bowling balls and fighting giant mascots, all while you're dressed as a cardboard robot and some stoner in the background keeps repeating the word diarrhea for 5 minutes to the most banging music ever. And that's the game in a nutshell. But I'm not ending the video here, so I guess let's go a little bit more in depth. Let's start off with the most important part. Pretty much everyone has heard of The Floor is Lava at some point in their lives, and anyone who has played it as a child knows how stupidly fun it is, and if the dev team had a single word in their mind when creating this game, I reckon fun was exactly it. Perhaps the biggest factor towards what makes this game so great is its movement system, and that's probably what I'm going to spend a large chunk of this video talking about. With all the different and exciting forms of traversal you see in old and modern games alike, this system is something that still hasn't been properly replicated, and likely won't be, at least not in the same way. Here's why it's so special. First of all, it's simple and efficient. In a way, yes, it is simple. All it does is combine a few strong elements from other systems. Bouncing to gain airtime, dashing in midair, running on walls, climbing ledges, and most importantly, grinding. All of this has been used in video games before in one way or another, but most of the time separately. That's the key word here. So why not take all your vegetables and mix them together to create a nice fucking bowl of soup? And what a soup this system is. It leaves out all of the long, unnecessary, boring, unlockable, upgradable press X to win abilities, and just gives you everything you need straight away. And you know what, you're probably not even gonna have time to ask for more. My feelings towards this are vaguely familiar to what I feel towards Sekiro. Sometimes all you need is a well-made, consistent ballet dance, where you have everything you need and you use everything you have. That's where number 2 comes in, practicality. In a lot of other games, one that comes to mind instantly is Dishonored. You have a lot of different tools and cool abilities you can use, right? But the game just doesn't give the average player enough incentive, time, or meaningful benefit in using like more than half of them. Yeah, I know these two games can't exactly be compared that closely, but just the feeling of tediousness I got when I realized that I can just technically run past everything. And don't get me wrong, you can do some insane things in this game if you really want to take the time to do them, which gives them more depth and layers, and honestly it's a very good game. But if we're being honest, for the average player, why bother trying so hard with all these abilities just to get the same exact result at the end? What's even worse is that the game actively punishes punishes you for being the good guy. Most of the stuff that is efficient and fun, like, I don't know, using the knife that's right in front of you, is locked if you want to be the good guy. Instead, you are required to go through a lot more bullshit, longer animations, fucking up everything and restarting, or maybe I'm just shit at the game. Either way, it's a lot, and the world is ending, so once again, why bother, man? Here's a bunch of cool ass fucking shit you can do. Make the most of it. Who has time for honor anyway? Well, that's my point. That's Sunset Overdrive's point. Everything you have in your movement arsenal will be used, no skill trees, and most importantly, no useless abilities. And in this game, there is no chance you're ever going to be playing like this just to get the good ending, or in general, just walking around. If you're the guy playing the game like this, I will find where you live. And number 3, consistency. You know what pisses me off about the majority of platformers? You know how when you get an ability that's supposed to be very cool, but you can only use it at specific moments where the game explicitly tells you to? That shit is lame. Fuck that. You know what makes this game special? Every single thing can be used to your advantage. The entire city is purposefully built around the movement. Objects that look bounceable are most likely bounceable. Anything that resembles a thin, continuous line is most likely grindable, in some cases underneath as well. Lampposts, use that to spring yourself up. Any wall you see, latch onto that for as long as you want. Physics are irrelevant in Sunset City. Not to mention the city itself is just gorgeous. It fits not only the gameplay but the whole atmosphere. There are many Easter eggs and fun little secrets that just fill the void that many uninspired games leave. It has many specific and vibrant areas that all fit the style, but are unique enough to be memorable. And most importantly, all of these places are specifically made to just let you wreak havoc around. Havoc, exactly. Because you'll rarely just be using the movement system on its own, since the game is built around combining constant maneuverability with tons and tons of chaos and explosions. The weapons you buy are outrageous, like just look at this shit. Each one of them has its strengths and weaknesses against each enemy type, and they all work in different ways. Not that that matters that much, because you won't need much choosing anyway, because who has time for inventories or backpacks or whatever? Just pull them all out of your ass whenever you want. In addition to this, the game has upgrades called amps that you can buy. You can equip 2 personal ones, as well as one for your melee attacks and dive bomb, and of course your epic amp, which is cooler. They range from force fields, dodge roll boosts, health trails, explosive melee attacks, flames when grinding, and a personal announcer that announces your awesomeness. Sick. And the cherry on top, all of this is connected to the style meter. You gain combo points by just causing absolute chaos, and with each level your equipped amps activate one by one until you become basically unstoppable. But most importantly, with each level the music kicks off, starting from just a beat and ending with full-blown lyrics. And let me just stop the video here for a second to appreciate the soundtrack. I wouldn't say I was very familiar with punk/garage rock before playing, but man, I would be lying if this game didn't make me start banging the shit out of my head at every turn. Every single artist came together to make this game absolutely rock the way it was supposed to. I can't stress this enough. Sunset Overdrive would not be complete without it. I can't imagine a better fit for the game's soundtrack. It's just perfect. Perfect. Alright, now that I've established that the gameplay is awesome, I also want to talk a bit about style and creativity. From the very first scene, you can already feel how much passion was put into this project, and the developers are not afraid to show it. One of the most unique parts of the game is that it doesn't take itself seriously at all, just off-the-scale self-awareness.
I guess this was heading to Toys for Terrorists?
Bora Bora water, now available for delivery. My work here is done. I'm out, bitches.
In my last video I talked about Assassin's Creed Syndicate and how that game was stuck in some kind of limbo between trying to be a serious drama and a comedy at the same time, so it kind of ended up failing in both aspects. Sunset Overdrive on the other hand knows what it wants to be. It wants to make you aware that you're playing a game, that you're having fun. The story itself consists of just the wildest shit going on all the time. You meet LARPers that have overrun a castle, wannabe Boy Scouts with samurai helmets, Mexican Las Katrinas helping sick children, and of course Uncle Walter. Not to mention the protagonist, which thanks to the amazing character customization system, always has you wearing the most stupid shit when stepping into cutscenes. I feel like the story is specifically made to act as a catalyst for the gameplay, establishing all the quests and missions. And the missions themselves always have you doing crazy shit as well, like smithing a sword with your drop attack or frying as many pigeons as you can.
Adamantium Platinum Super Macro Holy Mega Ultra Pigeon Combo!
There are missions where you just go crazy on all the enemies around, or one of my favorites, defense missions, where you put up all these traps and defend the Amcucker from hordes of OD. You never know what you're going to be doing next. It adds a certain element of intrigue. It flows so well that it just takes you on this roller coaster of emotions. Oh, and on an actual fucking roller coaster. Obviously, that's a mission as well. This game is what happens when you let the developers keep the entirety, or at least a huge part of their creative freedom. It's like a love letter to what video games should be at the core, pure fun and dopamine. Another interesting feature is that the game game is constantly breaking the fourth wall, whether it would be making fun of game logic,
We not be surviving this, matey.
Maybe not you. I'll respawn right over there.
or your character making some pop culture reference every once in a while. The jokes are often smart or just straight up stupid in the best way possible. Sunset Overdrive just knows its place, which is something many games nowadays don't. Developers are so focused on graphics or straight up making a movie that at some point they just forget that games often have to be, I don't know, fun as well. This is why games like these are so important once in a while. A recent example of a great title that is similar is Hi-Fi Rush. It's a blast as well, and if you're looking for something similar, do give it a shot. It might be the closest thing to a spiritual successor as we get, so it deserves a lot of love. Anyway, back to Sunset Overdrive. Well, the game is open world and those are often empty and boring. Even when you're finished with the story, exploring the city is still worth it. The challenges are actually fun, once again due to the nature of the gameplay. What's especially surprising is that the collectibles, out of all things, are also fun to collect, because they are literally everywhere and they're so easy to grab while you're on your way. It's like collecting coins and Subway Surfers, and exploring the world is just fun. You never know what's gonna happen in front of you next. This game knows it's not Game of the Year or anything close to that, nor does it care. And you can't even criticize it for much. Everything the game does, it does it well. Hell, I don't even have time to criticize it. I'm too busy killing mutants and bandits and shit. And you should be too. But here's the deal. Here's why I made this video in the first place. The epidemic is not nearly over. There's no cure yet. The after credits scene clearly hints at a sequel. And Insomniac did mention having retained the rights for the franchise, and also that a sequel was obviously planned. So it's not impossible. In all fairness, due to the game being so criminally underappreciated, maybe due to the fact that it was only released on Xbox, it didn't sell as well as the other games. 1.9 million compared to Spider-Man 2, which sold more than that in 24 hours. On top of that, the studio itself allegedly only made $500 off the title, which is insane. So yeah, after all, gaming is a business in and of itself, and it's doubtful that someone would work on creating a sequel for charity. Even with that in mind, I think that the problem itself might not even be with Insomniac Games, as they have actually expressed enthusiasm towards the sequel. The director even mentioned that there is nothing stopping them from making it, but there might be. With the game not even being released on PlayStation to this day, and the company essentially being owned by PlayStation now, so making a sequel for PlayStation would be illogical. It's like being pulled from both sides. An Xbox exclusive with a sequel that is PlayStation exclusive would be all over the place. So if a sequel was to be retried, I think the only option would be to port the original game to PlayStation first, and then with the use of some clever marketing ride on the hype. But at this point, it's been like 10 years. And while there is a community of players like me still hoping and dreaming, that community is small, so it's looking grim. But hey, we can still hope and dream, right? So yeah, Sunset Overdrive. One of my niche favorites that has a separate little spot in my head, and every time that I think about it, it reminds me of summer and the joys of life and creativity. I will forever cherish this game in my mind, and for everyone who still hasn't played it, I envy you. So give it a try. What are you doing? Anyway, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoy video essays on games that I find interesting, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, you know what to do. If you have any suggestions for games that you want me to possibly go over in the future, do let me know. And go spam Sony for a second game or something, I don't know, just, it's been too long. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys later.